Whatever. We're on the field. All right, front row attendance. Good evening, everyone. I will call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. Could the clerk please call roll?
Commissioner Haller? Here. Commissioner Ramirez? Here. Commissioner Thomas?
Here.
Vice Chair Diedrich?
Here. Casson, since you're sitting right up front, could you do the honors of leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Everybody please rise. If you're able, remove your hats, please. Place your right hand over your heart and begin after me. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Moving on to item 4, we have no presentations tonight, so going on now to item 5, agenda approval. Are there any modifications to the agenda tonight?
There are none.
Thank you. Can I ask the commission for approval of the agenda? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Thank
Aye.
you. Thank you, Tammy. All right. Now moving on to item 6, public comments. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak tonight?
We have none.
We have none. Going once, going twice. Anybody in the audience that wants to speak on any items not on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we will move on now to approval of the minutes. Can I please ask the Planning Commission for approval of the December 11th, 2024 minutes? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Thank you. No items on the consent calendar tonight, so we will move right along to item number 9, public hearing items. Item 9.1, could the Deputy Community Director please introduce this item?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening. First, before I introduce the planner, I would like to welcome our new 2 commissioners. Looking forward to working with you. It's exciting to have new people that will provide new experiences and expertise to the commission. So thank you. With that, I do like to introduce our Associate Planner, Desiree, to go over the next item.
Thank you, Orlando. Good evening, Chair, Commission. Welcome to the new commissioners. Hope you guys enjoy your time here with the City of Menifee. Tonight, I will be presenting the Cimarron Ridge Development Agreement Amendment, number 3, number PLN 24-0213, today, January 22nd, 2025. The project site is 240.3 acres, located south of McLaughlin Road, east of Getz Road, and west of Valley Boulevard, and north of Chambers Avenue. The land use and zone for the site is specific plan. The surrounding land uses are vacant, public utility, and single-family residential on large lots to the north, vacant land to the south, and vacant and single-family residential to the east, and City of Paris to the west. City Council approved the Cimarron Ridge project on October 21, 2015, and the general plan, specific plan, and zoning ordinance was adopted November 4th, 2015 for the development of 756 single-family residential homes and associated parks. The City of Menifee and Cimarron Ridge LLC entered into a development agreement on June 7th, 2017. May of 2023, a minor amendment to the development agreement was executed to adjust the timing of road improvements. April 2024, City Council approved development agreement amendment number 2, along with a major modification to the tract map to update provisions related to the relocation of the community park from Planning Area 5 to Planning Area 4, creating gated age-restricted communities in planning areas 5 and planning area 6, and relocated 49 residential units from planning area 4 to planning area 5 as a result of the park relocation to planning area 4. The proposal was presented to the City Council Subcommittee, and they did recommend approval. A development agreement is an agreement between a property owner and a city that through negotiation provides the agreed upon ability to modify or hold regulations applicable to the project for an agreed upon period prior to the actual development. The agreement often establishes the conditions under which development may occur. Development agreements are adopted as a result of negotiations between the city and the developer. The third amendment to the development agreement is the request by the applicant to the city of Menifee to allow up to 20 home occupancies in planning area 6 prior to the completion of McLaughlin Road improvements, an increase in the number of building permits from 485 permits to 635 permits that may be issued prior to the completion of the sports park proposed for planning area 4. And additional public benefit in the completion of 730-foot-long section of Valley Boulevard prior to December 31st, 2025. These amendments to the development agreement will aid in the successful completion of the project. As stated earlier, the amendment is a request to adjust timing of the completion and construction of the community park from the issuance of 483 building permits to issuing 635 building permits. The allowance of 20 occupancies within planning area 6 and additional community benefit to construct an interim connection of the Valley Boulevard missing link from just south of Chambers Avenue to connect to McCall Boulevard. Pulte Home Company LLC is requesting a deferral of the park construction timing based on the timing of the previously approved second development agreement amendment to relocate the park from planning area 5 to planning area 4. Park plans have been reviewed and are anticipated to be approved early February within an anticipated 12-month construction period with a commitment to being constructed immediately following the park plan approval. To allow for unforeseen issues, the city is requiring the park to be completed and open no later than June 2026. No changes or removal or previously agreed upon park amenities are proposed. Although the change from the 485th building permit to the 635th building permit is increased and later in the development process than has been standard for the master plan communities in Menifee, the Pulte Home Company has provided the necessary bonding for the park and has committed to move forward expeditiously. Finally, Pulte Company has included an additional benefit to construct a 730-foot section of Valley Boulevard south of Chambers Avenue to connect to McCall Boulevard. The section of improvement is also referred to as the missing link. The roadway, the roadway would be constructed in an interim configuration and is proposed to include a 32-foot roadway section to match the current roadway south of McCall Boulevard with 8-inch AC berms on each side of the roadway. No sidewalks would be constructed as there are no sidewalks to connect to south of McCall Boulevard. The missing link road improvement is expected to be completed by December 2025. All impacts related to the project to the development agreement, and previously approved approvals were analyzed in an environmental impact report prepared for the original project, which was approved and adopted by City Council. The Valley Boulevard missing link improvements were also analyzed in a separate SEQA document adopted by the Planning Commission. No new environmental impacts have been identified and therefore no further review is required. In conclusion, staff recommends approval of a resolution recommending City Council find no additional environmental review requirement based upon the findings and conclusions conditions and resolutions, and approving the resolution recommending City Council adopt an ordinance approved development agreement, amendment number 3 for the Cimarron Ridge specific plan. And this concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Desiree, for that presentation. Fellow commissioners, any questions for staff at this time? Ivan?
I just have one question. Is there a capital improvement project already on the books for the uncompleted portion, the missing link portion of Valley?
Good evening, Commissioners. Yes, there is currently a capital improvement program project to do improvements to get Valley Boulevard from Murrieta all the way up to Getz, actually just north of McCall. So we do have a project in the works. We are trying to expedite that because of the need with the new development of this project. Our capital improvement project is a multi-year. We're in the middle of design, somewhere in the 60 to 80% complete. There is still quite a bit of right-of-way to obtain, but there is a project in our CIP.
Thank you. That was my only question at this time.
Thank you, Ivan. Tammy?
Thank you. What have been the construction delays for McLaughlin Road? I'm okay.
You're good, okay. Chris, any questions for staff?
Yeah, just wondering, we've been waiting a long time to get that missing link done. It's great that it's getting done. But where Valley terminates down by the desalination plant, ultimately that's going to be cut through. Any movement on that at all?
We've been coordinating with EMWD because it splits their properties in two. We've been working with them for about the last year and a half, come up with alternatives, how to keep their plant operational. We've come maybe 2 or 3 different iterations. We're just working through those final details, and then we'll have to negotiate with them for the acquisition of the right-of-way. But yes, we are making headway. I would like to also say that we're coordinating pretty extensively with EMWD for the Valley Boulevard project because they have multiple water line projects that will continue to go up that segment of roadway. So Pulte did install one line, but there are either 2 or 3 additional lines that are still planned, and we're coordinating our efforts with them to ensure that we don't build something, they tear it out and build it back. So we're trying to juggle that as well with the project.
Are all those lines within the bounds of Valley Boulevard, or are they going alongside it?
They'll run parallel with Valley Boulevard, some of it within it, yes.
And as soon as we get the agreement worked out with EMWD, is it funded, that portion?
The project is not completely funded. We do have funding for the design, obviously, and some right-of-way acquisitions. We'll continue to acquire funds to help support the development of the project over the course of the next couple of years as we continue to work through the design of that project.
Okay. Thank you.
I had one question about the missing link. I believe there was one piece of property that needs to be acquired for the right-of-way. Do we foresee any issues with that acquisition in order for this to actually happen?
So I did reach out earlier to try to gauge how, interest in the acquisition of that. Obviously, it's one parcel owner that spans both sides of the roadway. That project is currently in due diligence, so we're waiting for some of that to play out. We also need to kind of make sure that we have the right direction from the commission and the council before we make any concerted efforts on property acquisition or even dedication.
But nothing out of the ordinary that we foresee it being an issue? Okay, thank you. Any other questions for staff? No, hearing none, we will open the public hearing at 6:16 p.m. Madam Clerk, was this hearing legally noticed?
It was.
And have we received any correspondence?
We did not receive correspondence.
Great, thank you. Is the applicant here tonight? Can you please join us at the podium, sir?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Patrick Lynham. I am the Director of Planning and Entitlements at Pulte. I'd like to start by thanking Desiree for the presentation, as well as Cheryl and Nick for helping us come to an agreement that benefits both the city and Pulte. Their support has been instrumental in avoiding significant delays that would have really impacted not only our business, but the families eager to move into these new homes at this great city. Funny, 2 years ago, as I took over this project, I drove through Valley, through that dirt road, thinking, why is this a dirt road? Somebody should pave it. Well, little did I know that would have been us, 2 years later. I'd like to thank staff for really shepherding the development agreement, keeping it on track, keeping us on Finance Committee in December, allowing us to be here tonight, and then hopefully City Council next month. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. Otherwise, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the applicant? All right, well, thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak on this item?
We have none.
None. Anybody here that wants to speak on this item? Can you please come up to the podium, sir?
Hi. My name is Glenn Bosworth. I own property in the area, vacant land. And so I'm just curious on a couple of things. I'm not challenging your project. I like it. Was this an original condition in the SP? The road improvement, the missing link?
I can answer that so if you want to ask your questions and then we'll.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't respond back and forth
Oh, you
with you at
can't?
this time, so you can ask your
I'm
questions.
okay with it.
You can ask your questions, and
Yeah,
then
I just wanted
staff
to
can
know
answer.
what the purpose of this hearing is. Are you just changing the timing of when this is installed, or was it an additional condition that came along, and why? And then is it a TUMP improvement? So those are my questions.
Great, thank you. Staff want to answer those questions?
I can answer the first two, and then I may need assistance from engineering on the TUMP question. But the project in front of you is to change the timing of certain improvements for the project. The Valley Boulevard missing link in particular is an additional benefit. It's an offer from the developer in exchange for the changes to timing of the McLaughlin improvement completions and the park completions. The Valley Boulevard missing link was not a requirement of the original project. It was not a requirement of the traffic impact study. This is an additional benefit that the developer, the city identified as a need that could benefit the community in the area, and so it is being added to their requirements for the project. Maybe engineering can answer if Valley Boulevard is a TUMP facility. I don't know off the top of my head.
But to summarize, it's just a change in timing for the park, and then the addition of an additional benefit for the city of that missing link. But no new homes were allowed based on this, correct?
There's no change in the total number of homes in the overall project. It remains at 756. It's just the timing of when the park would be complete, and then allowing 20 homes in one planning area before McLaughlin Road improvements are complete.
Great, thank you for that.
Can I ask a question, Cheryl, on that? What do you, and it might be for the developer, what is the time span of since the park's coming in later? Is it like, we're talking 6 months, a year? What rate do they plan on building?
So the park will need to be complete by June 1st of 2026.
26, okay.
Yeah.
And what was the previous deadline?
There wasn't a timing, it was more
Based on
number of building
building
permits. So it's a little bit hard to say apples to apples. So we're going from 485 building permits to 635.
Thank you.
Commissioners, I just checked real quick on the WRCOG interactive website for the TUMP facilities, and this project does not fall within or Valley Boulevard does not fall within the TUMP program.
Great, thank you. Ivan, you have a question?
I did, thank you. Just for clarification, Director Kittro, in the DAA Amendment 3, in Section 4, it's the revision to 4.15.1B. It goes into a little bit more detail in the timing of the park completion. So it says, substantial completion for public use occurring no later than the earlier of 12 months following commencement of construction. II is June 1, 2026, and issuance of the 635th building permit. So it looks like the earliest of those is what the DA actually says, if I'm reading that correctly.
You are.
Okay.
We gave a little bit of cushion with that June 1st, 2026 deadline. The developer has indicated that they believe it's a 12-month construction timeframe. We anticipate that the plans would be approved February 1st of this year. So it could be 12 months from February 1st. They've committed to diligently pursue after the plans are approved. That would be the earliest, unless the building permits kind of rush. If they get to 635 and the park isn't done, we have to hold until the park is done.
And I thank you. I did read that, and then maybe I'll just ask this other question now while we're at this point. So this is still in the current proposed or requested Amendment 3 under Section 5 now. So this is where it talks about the supplemental benefit to construct the missing portion of Valley Boulevard. And the amendment says that the developer shall complete or cause the completion of that. But then if you go a little further, there's an option. We get to the in lieu community benefit in the event that for a circumstance outside of the developer's control, you can't complete the road construction in a timely manner, there's an option for an in lieu contribution of $300,000. So here's the question associated with that. Is that $300,000 specifically for the completion of Valley Boulevard, or is it simply a community at large benefit that would be paid to the city?
So the development agreement does not specifically tie it to the Valley Boulevard project. However, it was staff's intent when that language was written that it could be and would be applied. So it doesn't specify. At that point, the council has a little bit of discretion whether or not they want to use it for community benefit at large or apply it to the CIP.
Okay, thank you. When we get to our discussion, I'll have a follow-up comment on that.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other speakers on this item? No. Any more questions from fellow commissioners for staff at this point, or applicant?
I have a question.
Yes.
You'll help me direct the question. When were the construction plans for the park submitted to the city for review? Because I see there's a bit of a delay.
Right, so the action that the council took in April was to relocate the park to Planning Area 4 as part of that major mod and Development Agreement Amendment number 2. The construction drawings for the park in that location were submitted shortly thereafter in early summer. So they have been going through the plan check review process since early summer. Our staff is on its final, what we feel is our final review, and should be able to approve those by the February 1st date in the development agreement draft.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off his comment as far as the option of it. I would recommend that, actually, I have a question that, yes. Is there a way to put wording in there to tie the 300,000 to the road improvement? Because I see the benefit to the city of having the road improved, not so much as the money.
Yes, so legally, you can make it as part of the recommendation. I do want to state, though, that the specific language in 5A does necessitate that the city notify the director that after reasonable efforts and diligent efforts, that they cannot acquire the right-of-way necessary. So part of that is if you cannot acquire the right-of-way, putting that money into a bank to use it for that might be a little bit difficult going in the future, but it is at your total discretion to make that recommendation as part of the DA edits.
So follow-up question on that is, if for whatever reason the owner does not want to part with that land, is there any plan or process of eminent domain or something else to acquire it in a timely manner?
I cannot say that there are any plans to take any such action. However, the city, like any other jurisdictions and municipalities, do have a variety of options in order to acquire property when necessary for things like public right-of-way.
Commissioner Thomas, if I can add one more comment, as Director Fiedler indicated, we do have developers interested on the property to potentially develop it. So obviously, as part of that development, the improvements of Valley and obviously the dedication will be required as well. So that's also an option.
I'd like to add too that, our capital improvement project, whether it's through this process, hopefully everything works out through Pulte and we're able to achieve that at a higher, faster pace. But our project would ultimately require getting that right away. So we will, whether it's through Pulte or through the city, it will be constructed through.
Anything else? No? Tammy, one more?
How much would it cost the city to acquire the right-of-way?
So, we would first have to go through an appraisal process. So that would take a couple months to go through that process, but once we get direction from the council, the agreements are finalized with Pulte, then we would take that and start moving towards the right-of-way acquisition. So we would hire a consultant to work on the various mapping that we would need for that to do the appraisal. In fact, we might already have some of that information from our capital improvement project, but we would work from there and then have to go through the process of an appraisal.
All right, if there are no other questions, we will close the public hearing at 6:29 p.m. All right, now this is the time to bring it back behind the dais and for us to have any discussions regarding this item. Ivan, you're up first.
So, thank you. I'll just follow up with kind of my line of questioning before. So, reading through the amendment, the preferred outcome would be to have the developer construct the missing section of road. But the next section, the in lieu benefit, is there and has an if-then clause, so that's the backup. I would like to add to staff's recommendation um, to say that if we get to this part, that the $300,000 would be allocated to the CIP project for the completion of the road. I think additional connectivity, especially when it accompanies new development, is vital to this community or any community, so that would be the reason. So that would be a portion of the recommendation that I would add.
I would support that, definitely. And especially since, piggybacking off that, there's, I don't know the name of the development, but just south of Cimarron Ridge, there's another 30, 40 homes. What is it? What's that one called?
Very unique Valley Boulevard tract map is what it was called.
Valley Boulevard Tract, yeah. So that's just gonna add to the need for this connectivity. So I agree with you, put wording in there that the money's tied to that specific CIP, and the staff report have encouragement that the city has the expectation that that will be built, since we are giving more time for the development of the park.
Is there a way to phrase it that it would be highly suggested or recommended that it be used for the, I mean, because I understand your point, city attorney, right, that this only comes into play if they were unable to acquire the land, right? So I agree that this connectivity is needed, but it seems kind of silly to force the city's hands to say it has to be used for this if it's something that isn't going to be possible to do, right?
Is it okay if I weigh in on that? So there is, and I may have a follow-up question. Once, assuming that this moves forward and is approved subsequently by the city council, if this money is allocated to this particular CIP project, there's a fairly long period that the city has to use the funds. I can't remember now what the government code says, but it's not like it's 6 months or something like that. There is time for negotiations. So I think it's 5 or 10 years. I can't recall. So that seems like that would provide an appropriate amount of time to complete those discussions.
Yes, there is definitely always language that you can put in there. For example, we can add a sentence that states that, you know, the $300,000 in lieu community benefit, the city council shall prioritize or shall strongly consider the use of such funds for the completion of Valley Boulevard improvement. That does give them, or if so they so choose, the priority of considering for Valley Boulevard without forcing them to do so, because policy discussion for all of you, what's important and things like that. However, it could be that the cost of this in 4 years or 3 years might be significantly more or something like that, and you have to look at what other funding might be available. If there is a litigation matter that might increase it, and the city might want to use this $300,000 for 2 other streetlights or something like that. I'm just putting it out there. But we can always make that, and that will make clear the goal of staff as well as the Planning Commission and the City Council, while not tying their hands in the future.
I don't know how fellow commissioners feel about that. I agree. I want this to be built, and I think it should be prioritized. And I don't think I'm hoping we're not even going to get to this portion needing to come into play. So I personally like the prioritization language, that we're making it known that we think this should be built, but if there's some serious impediment blocking it where it would be unreasonable, they're not necessarily tied to it. I don't know how the rest of the commissioners feel about that.
I'm in agreement, actually, because as I was reading the document, I was concerned about that as well. How are the funds going to be used in terms of capital improvement projects? And since the intent is to build the missing link, I think it is appropriate to add language that would link it to it.
I can take a stab at that,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
if we're ready.
I'd like to make one comment. I'd like to thank staff for negotiating this. I can't tell you how many years we've been wanting to build the missing link, and this is a wonderful thing. And thank Pulte for being willing to contribute to that, for doing that. So that's it. I'm in support of it. the verbiage that you've discussed.
Any other discussions? Otherwise, we'll hand it over to Ivan.
So I'd like to move staff's recommendation with the addition that if the in lieu funds, if we get to the point where we have to use in lieu funds, that those are prioritized for the construction of the missing link of Valley Boulevard. That would be my motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
And that's for both resolutions with that amendment. All right. Bring the vote up on the screen then. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, with that, we will move on. There are no discussion items tonight, so we move on to one of the most exciting portions of the meeting. Item number 11, Community Development Director. Do we have any comments tonight?
I thought maybe that excitement ended with Chair Ledoux leaving. Thank you for that. Vice Chair Diedrich, I'm glad everyone's still excited for my updates. I do also want to welcome our two newest commissioners, Commissioner Ramirez and Commissioner Holler, to the commission. Commissioner Vice Chair Diedrich, I want to thank you for covering tonight's meeting and congratulate you on your appointment. This will be your last meeting with us. So we anticipate 2 additional new commissioners to be joining us at our next meeting, hopefully on February 12th. So thank you for that. And I don't have any additional updates for the group this evening.
All right. Thank you for that.
Can I ask Cheryl a question?
I don't know.
You don't
Depends
know?
on the question.
It's very appropriate. I understand that in the movie theater that there was the city made a decision to use the bond and to do that, but I understand they were also supposed to be demolishing, or so did they? I was driving by trying to figure out where it was. So have you taken down the retail that's along Newport? Is that what's missing? Because the walls are still up on the thing, on the theater.
Stay tuned shortly. The city is working on that project, yes. The council did authorize the demolition. We did hire a contractor, and so we're working towards that goal.
Have there been any nibbles on a new project at that spot, as far as purchasing it and doing a new project?
There's been some interest expressed from others, yes. Nothing formally submitted, though.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Chris. All right, we're moving on to item number 12, Commissioner Reports. Fellow Commissioners, do we have any committee activities to report on? 2 of you are brand new, so nothing on that front. Chris, no? Not on any committees. All right.
Vice Chair, if I can, so the makeup of the MCAC was modified, so there are no longer commissioners appointed to the MCAC. That is its own now appointed committee of the City Council.
So that it's optional. They can coexist, right? But it's not.
They
no
can,
longer, it's no
but
longer made up
we
from
no
2.
longer have a planning commissioner appointed to the MCAC.
All right, thank you. So stay tuned for that in case anybody gets onto that. All right, so any future agenda requests? No, the 2 new people don't want to add anything yet at this point? All right. Well, before we adjourn, I just want to thank the 2 of you for coming on and taking time out of your lives to serve. I appreciate that, and I'm sure the city will as well as you guys move forward. And it was kind of a bittersweet moment being my last meeting tonight and chairing it, but thank you for that opportunity. And I'm looking forward to moving forward. So thank you all for the last 6 years. And with that, I will adjourn this meeting at 6:39 p.m. Thank you, everyone.